Section 7.2 concerns solving equations with grouping symbols. The grouping symbols are like distributive property. And so the very first thing when you see a number multiplied by the parenthesis, when there's nothing there, there's an understood dot there because it's multiplication, you're going to understand that you must do the distributive property first in the problem. So I'm going to take the 10 and I'm going to multiply it by both of those. I'm going to go ahead and add the opposite of the second number. So I have 2t is equal to 10t plus a negative 10. Now these problems are like you did in the last section. So the only thing that we've added is we've added the distributive property. I want to take this 10t and group it back up with this 2t. So I'm going to add a negative 10t to both sides. So that gives me a negative 8t on the left-hand side and a positive or a negative 10 on the right-hand side. The negative 8 is multiplied by the t, so I want to divide by negative 8. It doesn't go in there evenly, but it is going to be a positive fraction because I have a negative divided by a negative. I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 2, which is going to give me a 5 over a 4. Or if I make it into a mixed numeral, 4 goes into 5 one time with 1 left over, and then you would place it over the 4. Again, if you wanted to check it, you can plug that back into where the t is in the two equations. All right, so continuing on here, I'm going to do distributive property over here. So that's going to be the first thing that you are going to do in the problem. Don't forget to distribute it to both of them. So that's going to give me this. Then I've got to regroup on this. So I have to put those two back together. The h's have to go together. On the right-hand side, that goes away. On the left-hand side, I have a negative 2h. Right-hand side, I have a negative 10. Then I have to divide to get rid of that negative 2 that's multiplied. So that leaves me with h is equal to positive 5. All right, we're going to get progressively harder as we continue on with the examples. Notice on these examples, you have distributive property on both sides. So you have to do that before you can begin to solve the problem at all. Now, if you would like, you could multiply through by 10 after you do distributive property. So I'm going to add the opposite of the second number there, and I'm going to distribute the 5. So I have 5a plus negative 20 is equal to 3a plus 3.9. Now, you could multiply through by 10. You do not have to. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I have 50a plus a negative 200 equals 30a plus 39. And then I've taken away all of my decimals. I'm going to add this to both sides to get rid of it on the left-hand side and move it to the right. So I have 50a is equal to 30a plus 239. I want to put the a's together, so I'm going to subtract 30a. I always bring the variable to the left-hand side. So this is a 20a is equal to 239. So I'm going to divide both sides by 20. And I'm going to get a equals, I'm going to do that over to the side, so 20 into 239. It's going to go one time. One time again with 19 left over. So I'm going to, this is the same as 11 and 19 20ths. All right, let's do the other one. Just like it, I'm going to add the opposite of the second number here. So I do distributive property on the left. So I have 6b plus a negative 12. On the right, I have 3b plus, let's see what, that's going to be 8.5 times 3, which is going to give me a 25.5. Now, again, if I want to get rid of the decimal, I can multiply everything by 10. So that's going to be 60b plus a negative 120 equals 30b plus 255. You do not have to multiply through by the 10 if you're okay with doing the decimal. So I'm going to add 120 to both sides. So this, I'm going to get 6b equals 30b plus 375. I'm going to subtract the 30b from both sides. So I'm going to get a negative 24b is equal to positive 375. I would have to divide by the negative 24. And it's going to give me b equals, I know it's going to be a negative. I'm going to do it down here. 24 divided into 375 goes one time. And then when I divide it again, let's see, 5, I think it's probably going to be 5 times. So that's going to be 20, carry my 2. So that's going to be 10, that's going to be a 12. So I'm going to get 15 left over, and you can take the 15 and place it over the 24, which then can be reduced down. So I have a negative 15. If I divide the top and the bottom both by 3, it gives me 5/8. All right. Now this one, you got a little trick there because you have fractions. Now this is one where you don't have the same number on the bottom, but the smallest number that both 3 and 2 can go into is 6. So the very first thing I'm going to do, now you can work with it with the fractions if you want, but I'm going to get rid of the fractions by multiplying everything by 6. So I have an 18a plus a 6/3 equals 18x minus 6/2. So I have got 18x plus 2 equals 18x minus 2. Now if you want to, you can go ahead and do it the way we've been. So you add a negative 2 to both sides. You're going to see that this is a little different. Okay, that goes away. So then I have 18x plus a negative 4. I'm going to add a negative 18x to both sides. And look what happens. They both go away, so I have a 0 on the left-hand side, and I have a negative 4 on the right-hand side. That's not a true statement. 0 does not equal negative 4, so the answer here is empty set. There is actually no number that you can put in for x and have it work in this equation. All right, let's do distributive property here first. So I have a 4x plus a negative 2 plus 6 is equal to 4x plus 4. I can combine these two together, so I have a 4x plus a positive 4 equals 4x plus positive 4. Well, you'll notice you have the same thing on both sides of the equation. Once you do that, you know that this is a true statement, and you're going to have an infinitely many solution. But let's say you didn't recognize that, and you continue to proceed the way that we've done the other problems. I'm going to add a negative 4 to both sides because I want to take that to the right-hand side. I'm working on getting the x by itself. So I have a 4x plus 0, if you will, because that's 0. I'm going to add a negative 4x to both sides, which is going to give me a 0 is equal to 0. Now that's a true statement, so your solution here is infinitely many. Whatever, or you could put all real numbers, which means any number that I put in there for x is going to work in this equation. All right, let's do 2 more. This one I would probably multiply through by 10. So I have a 4x minus 3 equals 4x plus 9. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So I have 4x is equal to 4x plus 12. I'm going to subtract the 4x or add a negative 4x. And that's going to give me 0 equals 12. Not a real statement, not a true statement. So the answer is empty set. I'm going to do distributive property here. 12x minus 6 plus 15 equals 12x plus 9. I'm going to combine those two together. 12x plus 9 equals 12x plus 9. Now at that point, you could recognize that the answer is all real numbers. But let's say you didn't recognize it there, okay? And you're just doing the same pattern that you've done. So we're going to continue it down here just in case you didn't recognize that at that point. I'm going to add a negative 9 to both sides. And I'm going to get 12x equals 12x, which is the exact same thing, but if I want to combine them, I'm going to add a negative 12x to both sides, so I'm going to get 0 equals 0. So anywhere along this journey from this point on, you should have recognized that the answer was all real numbers, because this is a true statement, this is a true statement, and this is a true statement. All the way through, everything cancels out. And so over here I have a false statement, so that's why it's empty set. But over here I have a true statement, which is why it's all real numbers. All right, your homework is on page 337, 11 through 29 on.